Hey there, everyone. My name is Filthy, or Phil if you prefer. New to this whole YouTubing thing, but here we are. Here's a little backstory before we get into the actual content. I started at the beginning of the pandemic. I started watching a lot of simulation videos, a lot of Farm Simulator, a lot of House Flipper, a lot of Lawnmower Simulator, and so on and so forth. And, that kind of led me to here with my own copy of Farm Simulator and just a hope and a want to create content. So here we are. Okay, so let's get into it right out of the gate. This is the map, Bloomfield, Canada. It's a pretty good map. It's very large, but a lot of it is just kind of straight line fields. A lot of it is just these rectangles with the occasional odd shape, like 22 here and what have you. Before I got into this actual series, I did some playtesting and stuff, and I figured out that what I want to start with is field 31 here, because I'll buy it, as you can see, and then back out of the screen, and it's already got a farmhouse, it's got a water well, it's got a bunch of different things already in place, so that kind of sets you up to be ready to hit the ground running. So we'll just go ahead and visit the farmhouse so I can give you an overview of what this place looks like. Here's the front porch. We carry on and around, head down the road here. Obviously, I'm going to be getting vehicles in this episode as well, so we won't have to be running around like a crazy person like this, but it is what it is. And like you can see here, it gives you, it sets you up in such a way that I've already got two giant silos here to put all sorts of grain and what have you in. I'm not familiar with how to use these silos, so we'll be learning that as we go and kind of figure out how to put stuff in here. If it's based on real life, I believe I just pull up a trailer to this pipe here and then it blasts it into the silo itself. But I could be wrong. That's just from watching literal farming videos on YouTube, so I could be way off. Here is a cow barn that I'm for sure going to be selling. I find right out of the gate, cows are a very challenging animal to deal with, so I'm not going to do that. I will probably do it later, but I had the thought, again, in preparation for this episode, that I would go in here to this menu and make this cow barn go away. We don't need the money. If you look in the top right there, I've still got plenty of money from just starting the game, but still, I'm selling it because I'd like to make use of the space here. The thought I had is turning this whole field into a grass field, which we can use to feed sheep and other animals as well. You can turn it into silage, you can turn it into hay, you can sell it as straight up grass. So that's probably what we're going to do today, is I'm going to convert this field into a proper grass field. I know that it's already got some grass on it, but I'd like to pull the ground up and start fresh and really create my own field. So yeah, that's what we're going to start with. We'll back out of the menu here and then go into the sale menu. What I'm going to need to start all of this is a tractor with pretty decent horsepower. The plows don't necessarily need crazy horsepower, but you need enough to be able to pull things without it being a problem. And again, I experimented with this off video where I had a smaller tractor and it was literally lifting the tractor up, the plow that I wanted to use. So here I am. I'm going to buy this one. 101,000 is not terrible, but it's certainly not cheap either. Go ahead and purchase that and then head down to this item here, the plows. And like I was saying, when looking at the tractors, you need a certain amount of horsepower. For instance, this plow right here is not very big by any means, but it still requires 160 horsepower, and that's already maxed out the tractor that I literally just bought. So that's why I was talking about horsepower in that sense. And then, yeah, that's the one we'll go with this time around. It's Still going to take a while to process the field and what have you, but at the end of the day, it'll be worth it when we get a crazy grass crop and that we're turning the grass into big money. So there we go, we've got that. And just before we head out here, I wanted to take a look at this field here. It looks like they're growing corn, but I don't own this field currently, so I'm kind of debating with myself if I want to buy this corn field or even this blank one here and start fresh myself. I kind of want to buy this blank one here in the sense that I can put down my own crops, and I have every intention of getting chickens probably pretty early in this series, so this gives me the opportunity to plant a whole bunch of wheat, and it gives me the chance to play around with the silos that I'm unfamiliar with using. So yeah, we'll go into the menu here and choose this map and then select. It's just under $500,000, but it'll be worth it in the long run when we can turn that field into a massive wheat field. Like, that's a very large field to be planting a bunch of wheat on and what have you. And then there we have it. So now we're going to head over to the store to get the tractor and plow that we just bought. If you're not familiar with the game, you have the option to jump between your vehicles by just hitting if you're playing on console, it's just the left or right arrows will hop between your vehicles. As well, I just wanted to take a second. There is settings that you can change in game. For me, I like to play with autosave off, especially when I'm going to be doing landscaping changes and what have you. This prevents it from putting me in a situation that I just did something I really don't like and I'm backing out to quit, and it saves before I get the chance to quit. So that's what I've done there. I've turned off autosave. The seasonal growth I will turn off, primarily because for me it's I don't have the time to be planting things in specific seasons, so I play with that off, and that it makes it easier that you don't have to wait for a specific month to plant specific crops. You can just go ahead and plant it, and whenever it's grown, it's grown. So there we have it. Days per month I will be keeping at 1. Fixed visual month I'm not going to do because that makes it very hard to, or not even very hard, rather, but it creates a glitch from what I've seen that, like, you can get flickering textures and what have you, so I've avoided it. Normally I don't play with crop destruction on, but in this case I think I'm going to, because I think that it would be kind of fun, and it creates something that we can do in this series where I'm plowing I'm putting the crops at risk, which is something I haven't done in my personal playthroughs. Periodic plowing required. I'm turning that off because it's just these items here, periodic plowing, fieldstone, lime required, and weeds. I get why people play with them on, but for me it's very frustrating in that each of these things is another expense, is another level of, oh my god, my crops are garbage, blah blah. Like, for me, it ruins the fun side of this game, so that's why I turn these off. I'm gonna switch the dirt to fast. Essentially that just means the speed at which your machinery gets dirty. So playing on normal, it happens, you can do essentially an entire day of farm stuff and your tractor won't get that dirty, where fast, it's exactly in the words. It does that a little bit faster. I'm also going to turn off automatic engine start because I like that you have to turn off and on your vehicles yourself, and it adds a certain level of realism that I just enjoy. And then stop and go braking, I don't even think I've ever paid attention to. Trailer fill limit off because I don't. That will put a cap on how much you can fill in your trailer to keep it within realistic norms, in the sense that with trailer fill limit on, it only allows a certain amount of weight to be added to the trailer, even if that's only like half full. So that's why I keep that off. And then all of these AI worker features I will set to off because, frankly, I don't, based on how the AI is, when I'm playing this game. I don't really trust them to be buying fuel and seeds and fertilizer and what have you, so I'm just going to change those settings. And there you have it. That's all the settings for now. Oh, and the help window is under the general settings. I will turn this on when I need it, when I'm using a new piece of technology, but otherwise I generally keep it off because I've played this game enough to know the button combinations for a lot of the technology that I'm going to be using in the early parts of the franchise, or in the early parts of the series, rather. So that's why I turn that off. But it's just a matter of going back into the menu and flipping it on and off. So there you have it. And just a quick save to make sure that all of those changes I just made are taken care of. And now we can get to the actual playing of the game. I really hope that this tractor can handle this plow. It's a little bit bigger than I anticipated. I thought it was going to be smaller, for lack of a better word. And I also don't like that it got handed to me unfolded, so that makes it a little bit harder to transport, but you can just fold it up and you're off to the races. I suspect that when it comes time to put it down, you'll have to fold it out again so the wheel is flat to the ground, but we'll figure that out as we go. Just heading down to the farm here. Again, I know how to get to my plot because I played this map before the series started, and I was able to kind of figure out where I need to go and how to get there. The map is very large, as I said, but it's not too complicated in terms of getting around. It's a lot of straight lines. You know, you head north on this main road, you turn west on this dirt road, and that kind of thing. So it's not complicated by any means. It's just large in scale. Here we are coming up to our farm. The farmhouse looks pretty good if you ask me, but no one did, so there you have it. Yes, I turned on my turn signals. That's really, there's no other humans that you're playing with unless you specifically play online, so I find it both fascinating and confusing when games give you the option to do things like, no, I don't want to do that. Is it that button? See, and this is why I need the help menu turned back on. I'm trying to see. It is square. Okay, it was doing that. I just panicked. And then you'll see here, once it stops folding and lower it down. Oh, it is doing it for me. Okay, well, there you have it. Oh, that's what I was going to say here, and I will say now, actually. Let me just turn the camera so the words are a bit more visible. You see there that says limit to fields. When you have a plow, you have the ability to create fields, or it will only plow fields that have already been created. So, like, for instance, I've just switched it to allow fields, and it just kind of trails off. It doesn't actually do anything. So you just switch it back to allow create fields, and then there you go. And the idea being, I know that there's grass already down, but the idea is that this grass will not yield well. And before we carry on, I've got to do some landscaping here. But anyway, as I was saying, the idea being in plowing the field and starting fresh is that if you do it this way, then you get a higher yield of grass, and it puts you in a position that it's a lot, like you'll get more grass, you'll be able to generate more income from it and what have you, as opposed to just cutting the normal grass. This will get tidied up in a later episode, I think. I just kind of want to clear these things out, just to clear a path. And what I'm going to do is, I don't want to cut this tree down because it actually kind of looks nice, and I think, you know, we're just using this for grass right now, so what I will do is try and center the landscaping painting brush underneath the tree and just add a little bit of rock there, as if somehow the tree poked up through the rock, and it kind of gives us a nice look as opposed to just a straight up grass field. Anyway, so back to business here. We'll keep plowing along. Assuming that I have the ability to do so, I will be putting this in a time lapse, so there's no real reason to keep telling you what I'm doing here, but under the circumstances, I thought it was appropriate to try and talk through this just in case there isn't a time lapse option on my editing software. I hope there is, because, well, time lapses make this game so much better. In fact, it's part of what made me think this game was much more immediate than it actually is. Watching people's content that they had created, they made it seem like Farming Simulator is quick because you can do time lapses, there's jump cuts to the end of tasks, but in reality, this game is very much a game of time consumption. It's very much, you have to be dedicated to it to do it well and to do it correctly. You can half-ass your way through anything, much like in life, but with this game, you almost have to dedicate the time to it because everything that you do requires like multiple steps to completion. Like for instance, here we are coming up to a full loop, and look at how much grass is still left. It's gonna take some time, but we'll get there, that's for sure. Okay, so just a small little pass left here. We're going to pick up the pace because I don't really want to keep doing this. Oh, gosh. And one little piece here has to be a bit of a butt. Sometimes the camera gets a little bit screwy, and that, like like you saw there, it kind of turned up just from me trying to rearrange things and what have you. Okay, so there we have it. That is done. We're gonna take the plow over off the field. And yeah, we'll just park it kind of back here for now. Eventually I'll be getting sheds and stuff that we can put all of this tech in. But for now, this is what I have available. So there we go. We drop it down. And we'll just quickly check the map before I go driving off to the store to get all the stuff that I need. The map is found right here. And you cycle through. It'll tell me. There you have it. The entire field is plowed, which is good. You can't see any breaks in there, which is good. So now we'll have to go to the store. And again, I kind of want to invest in a larger tractor so that I can pull a bigger planter and what have you. So that's what I'm going to do here. I like this New Holland in that it's a nice looking tractor. I recognize the name, but that's pretty much it. So $292,000. Go ahead and buy it. It's probably a bigger purchase than we should have made this early in the game, and especially when you take into account that I'm now down to $205,000 when I started at $1.5 million. These purchases add up, and that's why I start with a bit of money in my account. I rather purchase the things that I want to purchase than have the game basically decide for you what you should be purchasing, what you should be starting with. So here we go. This map already came with a shed. Excuse me, why was shed such a hard word? So I might as well take advantage of it. Gonna make sure I'm away from the wall a little bit so that the tractor doesn't get dinged up as I'm getting out. And like I said at the beginning of the video, if you're playing on console, you can just hit the left or right arrow to jump between your tractors. And here I am now with the New Holland tractor. But before we get going out of here, I need to buy a planter, or a seeder, excuse me, because I need to be putting in new crops. So again, because the field is pretty large, we want to make sure that we're getting one that is also pretty large. 6 meters seems like a lot, but we'll come down to the end here. There's one that's 15 meters, but it's too expensive. This one here is 12 meters, but that will eat up a lot of the money that we have left, so we're not going to do that. We will split the difference and kind of get the 6 meter one that goes at 17 kilometers an hour, and we're going to go ahead and buy that. I'm not sure where I'm going to be parking that, but it is what it is. We'll figure it out when the time comes. Again, this is why I wanted to invest in a larger tractor before things got too far, because look at the size of that planter as well. So you just back right up, connect, and you see there in the bottom right, that will tell you what things you're planting, and there's also the option to buy some fertilizer, so when you plant, you're already adding a layer of fertilization, and you don't have to do it after the fact. There's a bunch of different options here. I will go through them at a later point in the series, but for right now, we're just going to start with wheat. And let me just open that help menu again to confirm that that's wheat. Yep. So that's correct. We'll go through what the different options are for this planter now. So you've got wheat, barley, oats, canola, soybeans, sorghum, oilseed radish, and grass. Grass is what I will be putting in that field that we just plowed, and then we're going to be putting a bunch of wheat in the other field that we purchased. So before we do that, let's turn that help menu off again, and we're going to come in here to the objects menu, and we're going to buy some big bags of, we'll buy 2 of these. I'm not sure how big or how much fertilizer it takes, and we'll just start with 2, and if we need more, we'll buy more. And same thing with this. We'll go with about 4 bags of seed, because if there's too much seed, then that's fine. We can bring it back to the farm and make use of it. So I'm filling up the thing with the seeds there, and yeah, it looks like it'll hold about 3,000 or so. And you see, there's part of the problem with this game is unless you have the appropriate tech to be able to lift these big bags and stuff, or a mod for super strength, then that's what happens is you have to move around the bags basically, as opposed to the other way around. And hopefully we don't hit the sign. Yes, we hit the sign, of course. And then we'll just leave those bags of seed there. I don't really have the ability to transport them at the moment unless I'm going to be investing in a forklift or something. So we'll just kind of leave them there for... you know what? We should be okay with the 36% fertilizer, so we'll just leave that there for now. We'll throw on the beacons so people are aware that we're working at the moment, and I can't believe I'm saying things like this. I've officially become a nerd. But here we are, taking our giant-ass planter to the field. If you'll recall, our turn is coming up here. Well, it's not even a turn. Our only option is to turn. So here we are. We'll turn down our road. I'm going to pretend it's got a fun name, but can't even possibly think of a name right now. So just keep driving down. We'll head back to the farm with all of this stuff, and I will... I'm realizing now that I've bought this big planter, I might have screwed myself over for making that grass field, because this might be too big a planter for operating in that small space that we just created when making the field. And we'll check it out when we get there in a second. But yeah, my concern now is that I'm going to be planting grass, and I've got a very big planter for very relatively minimal space. Oh no, we should be more than okay. So unfold it, lower it down, and off you go. And off you go. And we'll just back up the camera here so you can see. One thing I really like about this game is that it is very detailed in that whenever you're using something on the ground, on your fields, what have you, there will be a change in texture to kind of tell you that it's working. So we'll stop here for a second just so I can demonstrate. I've now turned off the planter, and we'll pull forward. You see, it's not digging up the ground like it's supposed to. So we'll just back up and start again. You'll see the difference here in that. See, now there's that change in texture. Now I know that it is planting. So that's something, if you're just starting out, look out for things like the change in texture as you're using a piece of technology. You might not have turned it on, you might not have lowered it. So just look out for stuff like that when you're going to use planters and seeders and plows and what have you. And if all else fails, Google is a brilliant help for trying to figure this out. I'm I was genuinely surprised at the amount of farming simulator content creators there is out there, and I'm thankful that those exist, in the sense that, it kind of sucks that I might be drowned out by an oversaturated market, but also any problem that I've had with this game, any struggle that I've had with this game, there's probably someone that's already experienced it, and there's Reddit forums, there's YouTube videos, there's a lot of very helpful pieces of information out there if you're looking to get into this game. So we'll just finish up this field here, and based on the time, I think once we get through planting this field, I'm going to call it a night. I think that's a good length for a first video. Thank you all for joining me, and thank you for listening to me gab about myself at the very beginning there. This content, I'm not exactly sure what it even means to me and how intensely I'll be pursuing it. I kind of feel like that I'll continue to make videos as long as it doesn't become like a chore. But we'll see. Either way, if you've taken the time to sit and watch this video with me, then I appreciate that. We'll just keep this going for a little bit longer here while we finish up the field. I want to make sure that the viewers are getting their money's worth, and if this isn't a time lapse, I thank you. See, and why I enjoy this game as much as I do is there's no stress to be had. Like, I know that real-life farmers probably deal with quite a bit of stress, especially with the way the world is of late, and high prices of everything and what have you. But, with this game, I keep using the word cathartic because that's what it feels like to me. It feels very cathartic to be put in a position where I'm playing something, I'm enjoying something, and there's no stress. Like, for instance, as I'm recording, I'm also playing Callisto Protocol, and that game stresses me the hell out. Like, it's always got you on the edge of your seat. It's always a bit of a problem. So, like, that's where video games are kind of a catch-22. A lot of them, I find incredible and super enjoyable and lots of fun, but also they stress you out, and that's something that I've always found kind of fascinating, is that, I will tell my fiance, oh, I'm gonna play some of this, I'm gonna play some of that, and then, I'm yelling at my TV and stuff, and somehow that's still enjoyable. It's kind of weird how video games work in that sense, don't you think? I will say, in keeping the conversation going about the way video games work and that some are stressful, I think that video games as a whole have allowed society to kind of live in a world that they are not a part of. And a lot of people say that, or a lot of people of an older generation say things like, oh, video games cause violence, and games are super inappropriate and stuff, and in a lot of ways they are correct. There is a lot of violent video games, and it's putting a lot of not so great ideas into influential or easily influenced minds. But the flip side is we get to experience things on a level that without video games would be impossible. I think about the ridiculous, over-the-top, crazy action that is Call of Duty, and, there's not a chance in hell that I will ever be a Tier 1 Special Forces operator to be able to do things like that and experience things like that, and this allows people to live outside of themselves. It allows people to be immersed in a world, in an environment that is otherwise inaccessible to them. And sorry, I'm just going on a bit of a tangent here while we're just wrapping up this field, but I think it's important because if you're gonna be watching my videos, I think you should get to know me as a person, and I think that video games have put us in a position that we can learn this way. And I know it sounds super cheesy, but using this game as the example, I get excited when I see certain farm equipment now because I had no idea what it was before I started playing this game, and now that I play this game, I'm in a position that I can be like, oh my god, that's a windrower, that's a tedder, that does this, that does that, and it feels like I'm learning and growing as a person because this knowledge was provided to me by a video game. Okay, we're coming up to an hour of recording here, so I think that that's telling me that it's time to wrap up now. That's good to know. And that's actually kind of perfect because we are good to go. There might be some loose spots, but I think they're down at the end here. Yeah, there we go. We'll just unfold that again because we want to grab these last little spots because that's counterintuitive to what I was saying before. And turn it. Oh, it is unfolded. Come on now. Okay. There you have it. And like that, we'll just fold this up. Again, I'm not really sure where I'm going to be putting things like this. But I think for now, we're just going to come and do a little loopy-poo here. I don't know why I said loopy-poo. Let's pretend that wasn't a thing. And we'll just park it next to our little storage shed here. And there you have it. Drop that down. And I will always try and end the video over on the front porch where you go to save. But I might not. Either way. Here we go. Just park the tractor there. We're good to go. Come over here. And like that, folks, that's the end of the video for today. Thank you for joining me, and I hope I catch you next time. Till next time, you are loved.